You're listening to the Wear, Wag, Repeat podcast, the only show 100% dedicated to highlighting women in all areas of the pet industry. I'm your host, Tori Mystic, and I am so excited to welcome you to episode 298. Oh my goodness, we are 2 episodes away from 300. I can't believe that I am reaching this epic milestone. I was also looking at my stats, and we've surpassed 175,000 downloads. To be honest, I think some of the data isn't reported correctly because of my own fault. So I think the real number is probably closer to 200,000 downloads, and I just want to thank you so much for listening. Whether this is by some miracle, your first episode you are listening to, or if it's your 298th that you are listening to, I really appreciate you for being here, for supporting what I do, and for doing what you're doing in the pet industry. I do what I do so I can support people like you. I'm not the one out there on the ground helping dogs. I'm just here in my little office, currently sitting in the closet recording this podcast, putting information on the internet to help you and to help pet parents. But I know so many of you are out there. You're probably driving to a client meeting in your car right now, or you're thinking about your to-do list. And I just want to thank you for sharing some of your day with me here on the Wear, Wag, Repeat podcast. Pretty awesome. So gearing up for episode 300, I thought that right now would be a good time to do an episode looking towards the future and also looking towards the past. So the end of the year is always when I like to do a lot of my planning for the following year. And that planning really involves looking back at what has been a success or not been a success, or could have been better or could have been different in the past year. But I also want you to kind of be in the moment. So in this episode, I'm going to talk a little bit about planning. I'm also going to share with you the do's and don'ts of December for pet business owners, because I know this is a very stressful time. So I'm going to give you permission to don't do a whole bunch of things. And I hope that this episode really empowers you and gets you excited about December in your pet business. But first, I thought I would give you a quick little life update. I'm always trying to make this podcast and everything that I share a little bit more personable and authentic and relatable. So I thought I would start this episode with a little of what's going on in my life. So first off, I'm sure you've all heard of this dog respiratory disease that's going around. It's still the mystery disease. I think, as far as I know, my vet just sent an email out this afternoon saying to keep your dogs out of groomers, daycare, boarding, etc. And that if you see any signs of respiratory illness in your dog, which would be like a runny nose or shortness of breath or maybe not eating or drinking, that you should call your vet. I honestly have not been keeping super up to date with this because with Bert and Lucy, we work from home. Well, I work, they support me. We're at home by ourselves most of the time. We go on walks and we don't often meet nose to nose with other dogs. But I just want everyone out there, if you're not familiar with this, please just give it a quick Google and see if this illness has been detected in your area. And if so, you might just want to be extra careful, be smart, and remember that your dog's safety is way more important than someone thinking you're rude. So if you want to cross the street or tell someone they can't say hi to your dog, go for it because there is something going around, and God forbid we don't want any of our dogs to get sick. There's a lot of headlines out there saying that dogs have been dying from this, but my vet's email said that most dogs are recovering just fine. So don't stress yourself out too much more than you need to, but just be smart and be careful. All right, some other non-dog death related news. Oh God, guys, we gotta get the energy up here. So on the exciting front, this is not really personal, this is business, but my life is so tied in together with life and business, I can't help it. I'm really excited because I hired some help this month with a few different things. So first of all, I hired a copywriter, Kate Meller. She is helping me rewrite the Wear, Wag, Repeat Society page with all of the new updates and upgrades I have planned for 2024, which I'm so excited to reveal. I've also been working with a graphic designer, my friend Deanna Seymour. She is helping me with some social media graphics, which I have never ever outsourced before. And I'm so excited to just get some outside eyes on my content and my graphics and my materials, because I get a little bit squeamish being too self-promotional, and I know that I need to talk up my qualifications and everything that I do in my offerings, but I get a little bit squeamish, to be honest. So I'm really excited to bring in an outsider who can be like, yeah, Tori is a badass. You should work with her for all these different reasons. So stay tuned for that. And I'll work on saying, yeah, I'm a badass. That's a work in progress. And then finally, a third person that I contracted with this month is a tech guru who is helping me with some tech stuff that just kind of has been irritating me on my website. Just some things aren't loading correctly. And she's helping me to optimize and just get everything running smoothly so that I can hit the ground running in 2024. I'm really excited for all of this help. I know it can be hard to ask for help. I know that for many of us, it can be hard to justify the cost of help, but it's really exciting and it is so worthwhile to hire someone in their zone of genius. So these three women each have their own zone of genius, which is quite frankly not mine. So I'm really excited to bring them in and have these experts working on my business and helping me out with some things this year. And I want to point out that these are all women business owners. That's right. I am only hiring women whenever I can. All right, now, two more really quick life-related things. One is just very quick and funny, is that yesterday, 2 days ago when this comes out, I babysat my two nephews who are really fun, but quite a handful. And they were over at my house, and the youngest one was coloring with crayons, and he wanted them to be just so positioned on the coffee table. And Bert kept going in and stealing them, and I think Bert ate all of the crayons. So, oopsie daisies. That is just going to have to go in Bert's story, his children's book that I'm working on, which is almost kind of like, I just want to imagine all the things that are in Bert's belly. I imagine that his belly is the size of what's it called? An airplane hangar or something. I imagine that he's just got all kinds of junk. It's like a junkyard in his belly. And now he's got 4 more crayons in there as well. So that's just some funny Bertness to share with you. And then my last little quick life update is if anyone's looking for a good hostess gift for the holiday season, this is what I'm giving everyone. And, I'm not an affiliate for this or anything, but I just want to share it with you, is that I'm going to get a festive bag of dog treats. If you go to your independent dog store or pet supply store, there's going to be some great treats there that are holiday or festive themed, or you can always buy single ingredient treats. That would be my first choice. And I'm going to pair them with a do loop, which is the little doodad that you can hang off of your leash to hold the full poop bags. I have found that so many people do not have these, which is just mind-blowing to me. Once you have a little doodad to hold your full poop bags, you just can't go back to life before that. And I really love the do loop. It is a woman-owned business made of recycled material and made in Maine, and they're just $8.99. You have to go to thedoloop.com and you can buy those or find out if it's sold locally in your area somewhere. And, every holiday party that I'm going to, the hostess is a dog mom. So I will be giving out quite a few of these little pairings of dog treats and do loops. So I hope that those quick little personal updates gave you some good information, got you excited, made you laugh, and gave you a really good gift idea. So now, moving on to the bulk of this episode. Like I said, this is 298. My mind is blown. We're getting so close to 300 episodes. I have one more guest interview coming out next week, and that is with Amy Sojai. And I believe I said her last name right. We will have to double check that when her episode comes out next week. And then I have a final solo episode coming out right before Christmas. After that, I'm going to take a little mini break and come back refreshed and ready in January 2024. Now, to get ready for episode 300, I actually went back through my entire archive and I found what I believe are the 10 best pieces of advice or the 10 best strategies from my podcast guests. Now, if you wanted to go back and listen to every single episode in the archive, it would take you over 146 hours. That's how many hours and minutes I have of the Wear, Wag, Repeat podcast. But I know that you don't have time for that. You're a busy petpreneur. You can't be listening to 146 hours of this podcast as much as I would love you to. So I did you a favor. It's my little early Christmas gift to you. I pulled out the 10 very, very best pieces of advice that I got from different women in the pet industry. Now, some of these women have created 6- and 7-figure businesses. Some of them are Amazon bestsellers. One of them has been featured on Shark Tank just recently and got a deal with Barbara Corcoran. So these women really are knocking it out of the park. They are killing it. So you're going to want to see their advice. For each one of them, I pulled a inspirational quote because I love inspirational quotes. And then I also pulled an actionable piece of advice, something that you could really implement in your business right now and make a difference. And like I said, these women are at the top of the industry. They are dog training consultants. They are treat bakers. They are pet special event coordinators, I guess I could call them that. You're just going to have to find out who they are yourself. Click on the link in the show notes for this episode. Just go right below the title and the description, and you will find the link to download this brand new freebie I created of the top 10 proven success strategies of women petpreneurs who I've had on this podcast. So that is something you should definitely check out if you haven't already. Now, let's get into these do's and don'ts. All right, so in December in your pet business, I think it's really important that you do reflect and plan for the next year. Work on your January ideas. Work on your first quarter plan, so January, February, March. Think about what kind of promotions you want to do. Is there something you didn't get around to this year, or something that you really wanted to do earlier this year and it didn't work out? You didn't put enough planning into it? Well, guess what? It's early December. If you start planning right now, you could have that amazing promotion or that great content or that super amazing new online course that you want to create. You could launch all of that in January if you start planning it now. So the first do is to reflect on what worked this past year and start brainstorming for next year. The second do is to show appreciation to your customers and your audience. So send out thank you notes. That could be as simple as a DM or a voice note, or you could send out actual holiday cards and thank you notes. Maybe you even want to give out some small gifts to your regular clients. You could even give them a bag of treats and a do loop. There you go. Your idea is done for you. This personal touch can make a really big difference to your customers this time of year and show that you really appreciate them. The next do is to be inclusive of all holidays that are happening. You never know what someone is celebrating, and you might be able to get really creative and post some positive, uplifting content that really includes everybody and all the different holidays. Another do is to share holiday content mixed in with evergreen content. So I think a big mistake that I see a lot of people doing, and I know this because I used to do this myself, is to share really specific holiday content and put a ton of energy and time into it. And it's just going to expire. Basically, it's going to go bad in a couple of weeks. So I would really recommend that you mix your holiday content with some evergreen content. So that might be, stuff that you would post all year round, whatever you do, whatever kind of advice you want to share that's related to your business, or if you want to share an introduction post about yourself and why you do what you do, or introduce your pets or whatever it is. I just know that years ago, I spent so much energy doing gift guides. And then the next year, I went to look at those gift guides and the links were bad for some of them. The products weren't available anymore. It was kind of a little bit of a letdown for me because it was a great deal of work to put together these big, long gift guides, and then I couldn't really reuse it the next year. So don't make the same mistake that I made. Okay, so those are a few do's for you. Remember, do have fun and enjoy this month. Now moving on to the don'ts. So I recommend that you do not start a new marketing campaign in December. Focus on your existing plans and implementing the stuff that you've already come up with. So don't start anything new. If you feel the need to scramble and put together a gift guide or scramble and create some kind of last minute Christmas special, don't. I'm sorry to be blunt, but just don't. Believe me, it is going to cause you way more stress than the reward. So you're going to be really stressed out trying to scramble for these last minute sales, come up with these last minute things. You're going to have to make graphics. You're going to have to do all this extra stuff that you haven't planned for. So it's not going to be done very well, probably, and it's going to be very stressful. And I guarantee you're not going to get the kind of results that you want because it's done as a reaction. You're not on the offense, you're on the defense when you're doing that kind of stuff. I went to a football game on Sunday, so I guess it rubbed off on me a little bit there. But if you haven't planned out some big holiday push for this year, just skip it. Make it easy, make it simple on yourself, and enjoy this month and enjoy your business. Don't add too much stress. Don't have any FOMO when you see what other people are doing and feel like you need to scramble at the last minute. Just say no and don't do that. Don't make yourself more stressed out because that will only lead you to starting off the new year and starting off January tired, disappointed, stressed out, and you're not going to be very excited. So I recommend that you do what you already have in place, implement your things you've already come up with, and then, go bake cookies, go for a walk, go ice skating, do whatever it is that you love to do with your loved ones at this time of year. One more don't that I have is don't spend too much time creating content that can't be repurposed or that won't last longer than a couple of weeks or even a couple of days. So this is really kind of what I just mentioned a few minutes ago, is don't spend too much time on stuff that is really going to be only good for a few days or a few weeks, if that. Think about creating holiday content that can be repurposed. So for example, I just posted a reel about my no-sew dog bone stockings that I made for Bert and Lucy. Guys, I made those in December 2021. And the video still looks great. It's totally reusable. I can keep reusing it every year and keep sharing this tutorial. I don't have to even pull the stockings out and refilm it. I can just reuse my content. So work smarter, not harder. And then finally, the last don't neglect self-care, and also staff care. If you have any employees or contractors or people that work with you, make sure that they have enough time off to relax and rejuvenate, and that you do too. If you are rested and relaxed and feeling positive, your whole team is going to be more productive. They're going to be giving out better service and better products to all of your customers. You're going to be creating better content. Whatever kind of business you have, it's really important that you take aside that time to just rest and relax and do a little bit of self-care, whatever that is for you. Personally, I love watching Christmas movies. I love baking cookies. I love walking the dogs. I haven't decorated for Christmas yet, but I am excited to do that. I love turning on all the lights. So make sure that you have enough time to actually enjoy this holiday season. So I hope that you follow these do's and don'ts and you can embrace having a balanced December. So keep in mind that it feels like we're at the beginning of the month and we have a whole month to go. But in reality, there's really less than 2 weeks left in December and in this year. Personally, I am going to be taking off from December 21st to January 1st. I've done this the past couple of years. Ever since I stopped managing other people's social media, I was able to give myself the permission to take off 10 days or how many ever days that adds up to at the end of the year, so that I can be present and be with my family and my friends and go to the movies or get Chinese food or go for walks or do whatever it is that we want to do around that time. Of course, if you have some sort of a pet business, like you're a pet sitter or a dog walker, and you're exceptionally busy during this time of year, go on, make that paper. You don't want to miss out on that extra income around this time of year, but make sure that you are allocating time in January to recoup and rejuvenate and rest and relax and do all that other kind of stuff so that you can keep working on your business. Remember, if you get burnt out and you have to quit and shut it all down, that's not really helping anybody, now is it? So the importance of work-life balance is really vital for petpreneurs. We give so much. Even just opening up Instagram and seeing sad stories about pets who have passed, who I've loved keeping in touch with on Instagram over the years, or businesses that are closing, or other different sad things. Petpreneurs, we put so much heart and soul into everything that we do. So it's really important to have that work-life balance. I was just listening to a podcast episode from Amy Porterfield, and she said, what is the point of all of this if you don't get to enjoy the holiday season with your loved ones? She talked about there were years where she was working on Christmas Eve, she took off Christmas Day, and then she went right back to her computer and kept working on the 26th. And she missed out on so much stuff, and she didn't really get to enjoy this time. So remember to take the time to enjoy the holidays, and repeat after me, don't start anything new right now. Plan new and exciting things for January, February, March, July, I don't care, but don't start anything new this December, okay? That is my biggest don't for you of this episode. So I hope you enjoyed hearing these do's and don'ts and some personal updates at the beginning of the episode. I love doing these solo episodes. I think you guys love listening to them. If you do, you could do me a really big favor and leave a review for this podcast. I was just looking at my reviews, and while I have I think 111 reviews, which is really great. It's one of the highest of the pet business podcasts, so that's really awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But if you haven't left one yet, you still can. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, the best way to do it is to go to my show on Apple Podcasts, and you have to swipe down underneath of the first few episodes, and you can leave a review. I think if you've left a review before, you might even be able to leave a new one. If you want to be an overachiever, of course, I would love that. But these reviews really do help my show reach new people, and they help the show reach people who could really use my advice and use the stories and inspiration that I share from my guests on this show. I haven't had a new review since May. And you guys, that's just way too long. So if you can please do me a favor, if you haven't left a review yet, I would appreciate it so much. It helps the show so much, and it would help me start off 2024 in a really great position with the Wear, Wag, Repeat podcast. So thank you again for listening to this episode. Again, stay tuned next week for my final interview of the year, and then episode 300 coming out right before I take off for Christmas break. I hope you have a wonderful week, and please tell your dog I said hi.